Good morning, everyone. My name is Elena Ballon Butler, and I'm the Director for the Department of Family Services. It is with great pleasure that I welcome you to the 6th Annual Momentum Men's Conference. This year's theme is Men Breaking Cycles and Building New Legacies, and I am honored to address you on the relevance of fathers in the lives of our children and families. Fathers are the foundation of the family unit. If you are engaged as a father in raising your children in a loving and healthy relationship, I salute you for all that you are doing to create, foster, and nurture those relationships. According to a recently released report by the U.S. Census Bureau, the majority, 70.1% of the nation's children under the age of 18 live with two parents. That is awesome. When fathers are present and actively engaged in raising their children, children have better, healthier relationships, better emotional health and control, and better physical health. If you are a mom, I encourage you to please support the involvement of dad and acknowledge and celebrate his role. Leaving a legacy highlights the interconnection across time with a need to understand and acknowledge those who have come before us and a responsibility to those who come after us. Therefore, fathers, continue to be the change that you want to see in your children. Build a legacy for your children so in return, they can build a better legacy for their children. Thank you to each and every one of you for your participation in this conference, and thank you for taking a stand, for stepping up, and for recognizing that we can't do this work without you. I salute you for all that you have done and for all that you will do to support and enrich our children's lives and to help us eliminate domestic violence in our communities. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. We're so happy you decided to join us this morning for the third Saturday in March, Women's History Month, where men and boys in Prince George's County are joining the conversation to lift and celebrate women by actively being a part of the solution in mitigating domestic violence in Prince George's County. This morning, I have the pleasure of introducing the Master of Ceremony for our 6th Annual Momentum Conference, Mr. William B.J. Page. BJ is the workforce development motivational speaker who focuses on changing the lives of youth. BJ has served as a Prince George's County Branch NAACP Youth Council Advisor, worked as the executive director for Run Hope Work, a nonprofit for at-risk young adults ages 20 to 24 in Washington, D.C. in Wards 7 and 8. He founded Boys to Bow Ties, a mentoring program that helps young men grow from adolescence to adulthood. He was named in the top 40 under 40 for Prince George's County and honored in the Maryland General Assembly a citation for his community commitment. He is also a member of Omega Phi Psi Fraternity Gamma Pi Chapter. He has numerous accolades to be included in those. He specialized in motivational speaker, a master facilitator, and a life coach. BJ is also a veteran from the U.S. Air Force and a proud native of Prince George's County, Maryland. Today, BJ will be adding to his impressive resume that he is the Master of Ceremony for today's Momentum Men Breaking the Cycles and Building New Legacies Conference. Take it away, BJ. So glad that you're with us this morning.
Jackie, thank you so much. Thank you so much. You are appreciated. And Department of Family Services, thank you for allowing me to be part of this day. I'm excited. I have been an attendee each year, bringing dozens of young men to this wonderful conference that allows us to have safe space to voice our issues. And I know how much impact we have just having these young men there. It's truly an honor and a privilege to be your 2022 Momentum Master of Ceremonies. And now I come with great pleasure that I introduce someone who needs no introduction and someone who is doing so many wonderful things in our county. We have remarks from the Sheriff Melvin Hyde. The sheriff has continued to be an advocate in the space of ending domestic violence in Prince George's County. I'm excited to hear from him. Let's hear from Sheriff Hyde.
Good morning. As you now know, My name is Melvin High, and I serve the citizens of our great county as the elected sheriff. I bring you greetings on behalf of the men and women of the Prince George's County Sheriff's Office. I'm so honored to be invited to speak with you this morning, to welcome and thank you for taking precious time to come together to better understand the issue of domestic violence and work to help alter its path of hurt on behalf of both victims and abusers of domestic violence, especially our children. And importantly, let me thank in particularly the Prince George's County Department of Family Services for hosting this 6th Men and Boys Domestic Violence Momentum Conference. As much of my work and efforts are designed to help our men be their best, I'm particularly pleased with this year's theme, Men Breaking Cycles and Building New Legacies. Our hosts know, as do I, that all of you can, and I believe must, take the lead and begin to make a very measurable difference in the lives of the people of our community. This is a very deep and insidious issue. You know the statistics as well as I do. Millions of victims worldwide, and thousands here in our county of all ages. And since our focus this morning is on men and boys, too many of you have experienced domestic violence as a victim or abuser around the globe. It is estimated that 1 in 7 children will encounter childhood domestic violence, and nearly 1 in 5 teenage girls have been a party to a domestic violence incident as a victim or witness. I've worked passionately to end this crime in our community, but it is a tough foe, and we need all of our community to end it. That's why I'm asking for your help. I talk about 0 incidents. With your help, I believe this is an achievable goal. As a government agency, we have begun a number of preventive programs and partnerships, such as our Domestic Violence Intervention Division and Advocacy Program, our Positive Day Youth Program, where we teach young people about healthy relationships, our signature Purple Light Awareness Campaign, where we work to have every citizen of our community be a champion of prevention, and our partnerships with the Family Justice Center, and our fraternity and sorority organization partnerships, and our joint agency lethality assessment team, where a team of experts like Dr. Bent Goodley helps us analyze domestic violence homicide so we can better understand what led to the victim's death and what we can learn to prevent the possible next one. But we need more. Therefore, I enlist your help, individually and collectively, to join in. Education, like this conference being hosted today, planning and implementing action plans are the means to end domestic violence. The most difficult thing to do, especially for men and our children, is to start the conversation, to talk about it, to learn, and to change the way all of us, young and old, think about and act toward those we profess to care about. I know with certainty that engaging and retooling our thinking about relationships and being educated on how to better work in partnership with each other will reduce incidents of domestic violence. Thank you again for your attention and help. Together, we can save our children and ourselves. Please make the most of this time.
Thank you, Sheriff High, for your passion and all the great work that you do. I've watched you over the years. Each year, Momentum show up and support each and every time. Next, we have poetry selection from Shamar Cook. Shamar Cook is a risk-taking ambassador of poetry who enjoys a good debate as well as a nice game of Uno and Blackjack. From beginning his writing journey at the age of 12 to his first ever performance at the age of 16, he's worked on perfecting several forms of poetry. His goal is to become a voice others can depend on when no one else is listening, and then to lead his generation to an era of love, which has really been missed for decades. Let's give it up for Shamar Cook.
How are you doing, everyone? My name is Shamar Cook, aka Base the Poet. I would first off like to start by saying thank you to the Department of Family Services for this amazing opportunity. I genuinely feel like the Momentum Conference is a conversation that is necessary for us to move on as a society, and I could not be happier to be a part of such a conversation. That being said, let's jump right into my first piece entitled Man's Definition. I promise to God it is not all men. Yeah, your suffering is real, but I feel the need to indicate how indifferent and insufferable it is to be lumped in with the bad ones. Like, yeah, I'm sorry he hurt you, but it's kind of what you signed up for. Should have had better taste. In fact, this is all your fault. I ain't got no business listening to you. I mean, we go through enough on our own, and not to mention, we're all adults here. You got yourself in your mess, now figure it out. See, this is exactly why I stay away from girls like you. Are the women gone? Good. Now let's start by identifying one of the key definitions of the man, which derives its meaning from the word courage. No, it did not come from any of the made-up definitions we forced ourselves. Look up the context, you'll find in its archaic state, the word man meant courage, to which I must say, fellas, we need to have a heart-to-heart about our role in the lives of the women we also desperately try to protect and somehow still end up their primary aggressor. Not lover, can't even embrace a woman too tight nowadays. Matter of fact, they keep their distance nowadays, and that don't bother you. The very women we supposed to protect keep their distance now, and that upsets no one. As if the thought of being a male ally is seen as some concaving fracture to our masculinity. Oops, I meant ego. That again, the two are so indisposed between one another, they seem like interlocking fingers around our necks, threatening to tighten if we choose to be less of a man, turns vice grip when we belittle the trauma of a woman. Don't you get it? Asking her to fight those battles alone as we dissipate from their partner to their opposition, turn enemy in close quarters, because you can't let go of little Susie breaking your heart 5 years ago. But sure, her being sexually assaulted while she was 12 makes her a red flag. Fellas, we gotta do better for our sisters. Look after them like they're our own, not because we owe them and not because they can't handle themselves, but simply when all dust is settled, there is no reason to stand against the protection of women. Especially when they've been on the forefront for us, bearing the burden of being placed at the bottom amongst all our pileup. So the very least we can do is lend an outstretched hand to pick up the pieces we cracked off their frame to begin with. I'm just saying, manhood can't be stripped away while it's being tested, so test it. Be a part of the conversation, ask your questions, receive your answer, listen to the pain and hear their sorrow. For once in your life, be a man. Unless you've already made up another definition. Thank you.
Thank you, Shamar. That was powerful, man, and so dope. You are appreciated. Did you know that Prince George's County has a commission on fathers, men, and boys? With us this morning, we have the Vice Chair of the Prince George's County Commission on Fathers, Men, and Boys, Mr. Robert Johnson. And he's going to tell us a little bit about the commission, and then we'll get to meet several of the commissioners. But here's a little bit about Mr. Johnson. In addition to being the Vice Chair of the Prince George's County Commission on Fathers, Men, and Boys, Robert Johnson is currently the Executive Director of My Brother's Keeper, Prince George's County Network. Robert has close to 20 years of experience in both K-12 and higher education, and has served as an educator, school principal, and a college director. And he just finished a 100-day fast protest with Congress' inability to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. Give it up for my guy, Mr. Robert Johnson.
Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction, BJ, and thank you for all that you do within the community. So as indicated, my name is Robert Johnson, and I currently serve as the Vice Chair on the Commission for Fathers, Men, and Boys. This commission, formed with other committed and outstanding men, was formed in the spring of 2020 with the purpose of assisting the County Council and advising the County Executive on issues and support structures that we can identify to put in place that can have a positive impact for fathers, men, and boys in Prince George's County. As a lifelong servant and committed advocate for the community, it is our dream to create opportunities and pathways towards success for fathers, men, and boys. It is a goal that we cannot achieve alone. We have walked in the shoes and have shared similar experiences that many of these young men are facing today. We know, like many of them, we see that they face a plethora of obstacles and challenges that often appear to be insurmountable. But just like them, we have faced some of these challenges, but with the help of mentors, counselors, and strong, consistent role models, we were able to change the course of our lives. We were prepared and are prepared for this opportunity moving forward. And as the vice chair and as commissioners, it is our desire to collaborate with other members in the community to help develop a roadmap towards success, as well as inspire, motivate, and initiate change, and more importantly, change agents in our community. To that end, we're asking you to help us uplift and support our fathers, men, and boys in Prince George's County. Let's take control of the narrative. Let's not allow our fathers, men, and boys to be defined by limitations. Let's define them by their contributions. Let's define them by their efforts, not have them be defined by inactivity. So we're soliciting your support to help us uplift our young men, provide opportunities in education, economic development, criminal justice, reentry programs, jobs, and careers. As indicated previously, I work with some phenomenal men. At this time, we're going to show you a short video that will allow you to gain some insight on what inspired them to be part of the Commission for Fathers, Men, and Boys.
Fatherhood really is all about showing our kids the great examples of being men in the community.
I want to be able to create opportunities where our boys understand that they're starting from an area of strength.
I'm from Prince George's County, and I want to give back to my community, especially being a first-generation Latino.
It's a saying that says, to whom much is given, much is required. Fathers and men in general face a plethora of challenges.
Dealing with the criminal and civil justice system, that oftentimes takes our fathers, our men, and our boys on the wrong path.
The narrative that fathers are not present.
Being part of that process in terms of the upbringing of their children.
Lack of opportunity, unemployment, underemployment, as well as challenges just being a dad. Being a dad is a challenging thing.
Economic opportunities, education, access to mental as well as physical health care.
A lot of men implode. They have no way of really being able to express themselves when things don't go according to plan. This commission affords men an opportunity to be heard, to have advocates, and most importantly, to be able to express themselves.
This will give fathers a voice.
I had my father and a lot of other mentors that poured into me, and I felt this was a great opportunity for me to pay it forward and give back.
The primary goal of the commission is to empower fathers, men, and boys by advocating, recommending, adopting, and implementing policies, programs, and procedures that will effectively address the social, economic concerns of fathers, men, and boys in this county.
Programs that we would like to start are in education, where we can partner with the school system.
Collaboration with the Department of Social Services.
The health initiatives, health screenings.
Bring some access to health, mental health to the community.
Supports for fathers in terms of like child support and employment.
Better opportunities for returning citizens to get back into the workforce.
I believe a thorough reentry program for ex-offenders will be greatly beneficial here.
Create a pathway where folks can reintegrate into the community.
My name is Robert Johnson.
I'm James Also Brooks.
My name is Arthur Cutler.
My name is Anthony McAllister.
Commissioner Bruce D. Edwards.
I'm Councilmember Mel Franklin.
My name is Michael Williams.
My name is Christopher Kelly.
I'm Dr. Joseph E. Jones, Sr., Chairman of the Prince George's County Commission for Fathers, Men, and Boys.
Wow. Thank you, Robert Johnson, and the entire commission for your remarks. It really meant a lot to me, and I hope it meant a lot to you listening. Next up, we have remarks from Prince George's County Chair, the Council Chair, the Honorable Mr. Calvin Hawkins.
Thank you to the Prince George's County Department of Family Services for this opportunity on behalf of the Prince George's County Council to bring greetings to this 6th Momentum Men and Boys Domestic Violence Conference. This subtitle, Men Breaking the Cycle, Men Building New Legacies, is a title, a topic, a discussion that should result in very positive outcomes. As a young man growing up in a single family household, I know the importance of the role of the woman in the family setting. I know the importance of men communicating effectively with their spouse, whether you agree or disagree. We are those men who must leave a legacy and build on the legacy we have established to ensure that the young boys around us will have positive role models as they begin their engagement with the women in their lives and understand they may not always agree, but they can always respect each other's right to disagree. I'm hopeful and optimistic that this conference you're participating in today will be a conference that will yield great conversations, and you will leave with information to help you better understand and work with your spouse, your loved ones in a very positive way. Again, we are the men in 2022 who are building new cycles while breaking the old ones to leave legacies that'll make all of us Prince George's proud. I look forward to seeing you somewhere in our community. Take care and enjoy the conference.
Thank you so much to Prince George's County Council Chair Hawkins. Man, I really appreciate those words. Next, we'll have some remarks from the Prince George's County State's Attorney, Madam Aisha Braveboy.
Hello, I'm State's Attorney Aisha Braveboy. I want to thank the Prince George's County Department of Family Services for hosting the Momentum Domestic Violence Awareness Conference for the past 6 years. I also want to thank you for being here. Your involvement is key to helping us develop healthy relationships in our families and communities. I want to tell you that my office has seen a downward trend in cases involving intimate partner homicides, but there has been an increase in family violence, meaning there have been more cases where household members were killed by other household members between 2021 and 2022. Unfortunately, we often find that talking about domestic violence and family violence is taboo for men and taboo for the Black community in general. You have taken the step to changing that by being here today, where you will learn about breaking unhealthy cycles in relationships, and you will also find out about resources you can access to help you. Again, let me thank you for being here and continuing the conversation around healthy relationships that will make a difference for you and our communities.
Thank you so much to our Prince George's County State Attorney, Aisha Braveboy. You are appreciated. Now I would like to introduce the man of the hour, our keynote speaker, Mr. Eugene Schneeberg. Eugene is a sought-after speaker, a consultant, and a trainer in the field of violence prevention, fatherhood, children of incarcerated parents, and prisoner reentry. He provided strategic advice to the White House Office of Faith-Based and Neighborhood Partnerships and the Department of Justice after being appointed by President Barack Obama as the director of the Faith-Based Partnership for the Justice Department. Eugene's leadership resulted in numerous innovative new policies, practices, and grant programs focused on promoting responsibilities around fatherhood, prisoner reentry, children with incarcerated parents, and preventing youth violence. Eugene left the Obama administration in 2015 to begin consulting on local and national responsibility fatherhood projects. In 2017, he founded Fathers Forward, where his team assisted nonprofits and government clients to improve their child well-being, effectively engaging and equipping fathers. I would like to introduce to you all Mr. Eugene Schneeberg.
BJ, thanks so much. And thank you to the Prince George's County Department of Family Services for putting on this amazing event, the Momentum Conference, 6 years. I want to particularly thank Jackie Rome for her tireless leadership in pulling this all together. This was not an easy job, but Jackie, you make it look easy. So thank you so much for this invitation. And lastly, thank you to all the attendees. Thank you so much for tuning in. You could have been doing anything, but you chose to be with us today to talk about a critically important issue: men breaking cycles and building new legacies. Before I begin my formal remarks, I have a couple housekeeping items. First, BJ, I got to help you out with the pronunciation of my last name. And some of you who saw my last name, you're a little nosy. You want to know, how did that brother get that last name? So I'm going to do two things in one fell swoop. First, I'm going to help you with the pronunciation of my last name, BJ. Secondly, I'm going to let you know where I got my name. All right. So first off, how many of you guys remember, if you're watching online, the Mr. Rogers show? BJ, you remember?
I do.
Mr. Rogers used to say, "It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor? For me, it's won't you be my Schneeberg."
Neighbor.
Schneeberg. Yeah, see how easy that was? Eugene Schneeberg. So now you got the pronunciation part down. You'll never forget that. And secondly, how did I get the name? So my mother is Jewish American and my father's African American. They were never married, so I got my mother's maiden name, Schneeberg. See, for the nosy people, there, now you have it. That's how I got the name. So, but seriously, definitely appreciate the invitation. And then one last thing, Jackie, in the agenda for the session, after my last name, Schneeberg, it should say Schneeberg, PhD. BJ, you missed that in my introduction. Schneeberg, PhD. Let me tell you, I earned my PhD. Some people have a hard time believing this. BJ might scratch his head. I earned my PhD before I turned age 20. All right. And some of you are wondering, like, how is that even possible? I see BJ's face. Well, I did earn my PhD. I actually have it on my wall, like BJ has his degrees and stuff in my office. My PhD, that is my public high school degree. So I just want to make sure you knew, Jackie and BJ, that your keynote speaker had the right credentials to be able to speak today. So Schneeberg, PhD, you got it, BJ. Next time you introduce me, we'll get it.
I got it. Schneeberg.
Awesome. But the topic at hand is a serious one, all jokes aside. And the thought I want to talk to you today about is men don't hurt, we heal. I'm gonna say that one more time. Men don't hurt, we heal. And there's two meanings to that. One is that oftentimes as young men, as boys, we're kind of trained and socialized to suppress our feelings. And so if we are hurting, we're kind of trained not to show it, put on a tough guy mask, right? So that's the first meaning of men don't hurt. But the other meaning is that men don't intentionally hurt those who we care about, those who we love. We don't hurt them. We heal. We work to be a healing agent in our families, in our communities, in our schools, and in our nation. Men don't hurt, we heal. Let me tell you a little bit about my story. BJ did a great job introducing me, but what he didn't say is that I was born and raised in Roxbury, Massachusetts. If you don't know where Roxbury is, it's a neighborhood within Boston. I guarantee you've heard of the group New Edition. So I grew up across the street from the housing projects where New Edition is from the Orchard Park projects. I told you that my mother and father were never married, but what I didn't tell you is I've never met my father. And so my mother raised my sister and I by herself, and did an extraordinary job. She did the best she could with the resources that she had. But the reality is, growing up in the late 80s and early 90s, it was rough. Boston was really rough, just like DC and other parts of the country. It was a really hard time for our nation. And so before I was a teenager, I had been robbed, shot at, jumped. My house had been broken into numerous times. I had witnessed my mother being held down at knife point as men from our community ran up in and out of our house with our TV, with our stereo. Houses throughout the community had bars on them. My mother once found a loaded gun in our front yard. So the time was rough. I remember watching drug deals go on in front of my house and thinking to myself, asking myself this question: where are all the men? Even as a preteen, even as a child, I knew intuitively that men were supposed to be protectors in our community. And I felt so powerless, so vulnerable at that time. And I remember saying to myself, when I grow up and become a man, now, keep in mind, I had no idea what a man was. You see, I had no uncles, no brothers. My grandfather died when I was very young. As I said, I never met my father. And the overwhelming majority of my friends didn't have their fathers in their lives. And so I asked myself this question: where are all the men? And as I think back at it now, I had some great coaches. I had some great men in the community that really cared about us, tried to shield the young people from the violence and from the issues we were facing. But I felt like there was more to be done. And I didn't understand why there was an absence of fathers, why there was an absence of men in our communities. I just knew that all my friends were raised by single mothers, myself included. I just knew that it seemed like the violence wouldn't stop. It seemed like the drug dealing went on unchecked. I called the police several times to no avail. Several of my friends were either shot or killed by the time I was a teenager. And so this question of where are all the men has always stuck with me. And I made a commitment as a young man, like many of you have made, that when I grow up and when I become a man, whatever I figure out what that means to be a man, because without healthy, strong men in my community to show me what a man was, I had no idea. So my friends and I try to figure it out through trial and error, and more error than success. We try to identify what manhood was from TV, from music, and from each other. And there's a saying that says, gangs are just a group of boys trying to teach each other how to be men. You see, it's impossible for young men to teach each other how to be men without strong, healthy examples of what manhood actually is, what authentic manhood is. And so I made this commitment as a young man that when I grow up, when I become a man, I'm not going to have said about my generation what I thought about the generation that preceded me, which was, man, these guys missed it. You know, I used to say, man, these guys in this community are just losers. How could they allow the children, the women and children in our communities to be so vulnerable to so much? And so I made that commitment as a young man, and me being with you today, I think, is part of me fulfilling that commitment. As BJ said, I had an opportunity, extraordinary opportunity, to work for President Obama, to work with the Department of Justice, and I valued that opportunity. I learned a ton. Before I was done, we were able to invest about $30 million in new programs to support incarcerated fathers, mothers, and their children. And today, I head up an organization called Fathers Forward. Our mission is to strengthen fathers and strengthen communities. And so how do we do that? In just a moment, I'm going to show you a brief 2 to 3 minute video where the fathers that we work with in 12 counties across the state of Maryland, you'll be able to hear directly from them about their experience coming together as a community to support and encourage one another. So the question is, if men don't hurt and men heal, then how do we heal? So what I want to do is I want to show this video, and then I'll be right back. Check out the video.
I have a daughter who is 5 years old. Her name's Amara. She's smart, tall. She'll probably be a basketball player one day.
I have 3 children. The circumstances that led me to find the Fathers Group was I was fresh out of incarceration.
I have 2 children. The other fathers in the group have been a great encouragement to me because it always kind of brings you back to feeling like you're not alone in dealing with this.
The circumstances that led to me becoming part of Fathers Forward was an incarceration and straight into a sober living environment. Some things I learned about myself while being in the group was it's okay to be honest and open.
I first heard about the Fathers Group through my social worker, and he told me it was just the basics. It's a group of fathers. They do different things, like they cover co-parenting, they cover the procedure of the steps that you actually go through when you're in the system with your kids for custody and foster care.
In the beginning, there was a lot about myself that I did not know. What I would say to a father that's thinking about joining a group is it all boils down to one decision. If you love your child, you should join the group because they're going to benefit from it as well as you, because I know mine has.
My relationship with my children since I took a part in the group, I would say it got stronger and it was tighter now. It was just like, I guess that nobody wanted to lose each other anymore.
The groups helped me with some challenges in my everyday life by giving me a brotherhood of people to talk to. What I would say to a father who's thinking about joining a group is give it a shot. You'll find camaraderie, you'll find more similarities than you'll find differences. And I gave it a shot, and it's been one of the best resources I've used in 2 years on a recovery path.
What's up, fellas? I'm Brother Eugene, President of Fathers Forward. And I started Fathers Forward because I know personally how important fathers are in the lives of their children. Because I've never met my dad, and I'm a father of 4. Being a father is not easy, but it's a lot easier when you have a group of dads that can encourage you and support you and can relate to what you're going through. So every week in our group, we talk about how to be a better father, how to co-parent effectively with the mother of your child. We talk about strategies for discipline and how to manage your anger and your emotions. And not only do we get together once a week for an hour on Zoom, but we get together for fun activities. So we've been to Georgetown men's basketball games. We go on fishing trips. We want you to be part of this brotherhood. We're excited about meeting you. And for more information, we want you to check us out at www.fathersforward.com and give us a call at 571-733-1373, or you can email us at eugene@fathersforward.com.
Well, as you can see, there's such a need for us as men to come together, to support one another, to encourage one another. You know, no man makes it by himself. And I'm so grateful that I have strong men in my circle that when I miss it, when I mess up, when I'm frustrated, I can go to them and be open and be honest and learn from them. And as men, it's so important that we don't try and do this thing by ourselves, that we use the men and women in our community to help support us and encourage us so that we can be as strong as possible and so that we can strengthen and encourage those around us. So, as I said earlier, I never met my father, and that's actually the title of my new book that's out. So I'm so excited to be able to share some of my pain. I really believe that your greatest gift is your greatest pain. And so in my life, my greatest pain has been growing up without my dad, trying to navigate adolescence and adulthood without a father. And so in my book, I share lessons that I've learned from a fatherless father. You know, I'm a dad of 4 now. I've been married 18 years. It's the thing I'm most proud of. And I'm so excited to be able to share this with men throughout the state of Maryland. And as you can see in the video, those brothers came in with some level of skepticism. They said, I don't know if this is going to be for me. But there's a method that we use in our fathers groups, and I think it's really important. And it's an acronym, and it's called the HEAL. Okay, The H stands for happy, right? We all want to be happy. The E stands for excited. And so we encourage the brothers when we do our check-ins every week. If you're, what's making you happy? What are you excited about? Sometimes we get in that mode where we're so stoic, we're so ice grill that we have a hard time even identifying what makes me happy or what I'm excited about. The A in HEAL stands for angry. Sometimes as men, we don't want to admit that we're angry, but things come that make us angry. The L stands for loving. You know, we have a tender place in our heart. And so we ask the brothers to consider what they're feeling loving about. Now, there's 2 S's in HEALs, all right? And these 2 S's are emotions that oftentimes men have a really hard time identifying and articulating. And so that's why it's so important for men to get in touch with the full range of our emotions. And the first S stands for scared. This is a hard one because we're programmed to say, I'm not scared of anything. I'm never scared. There's a song that came out many years ago. The chorus was, I ain't never scared. All right. So it's very hard for men to acknowledge that there are things that come that make us concerned. Right. And if we don't acknowledge it, then we're vulnerable to get tripped up by it. And the last S, which is probably the most important, is sad. And this is a hard one. I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of men throughout the state of Maryland. And each of them always wrestle with this one. They always got to pause and think for a second. What is it that's making me sad? And so when I think about men don't hurt, we heal, I want to look at that acronym, HEAL. And don't forget about the 2 S's, scared and sad. And so I want to talk to you about how men learn to heal and how, as men, we can learn to express our emotions in a healthy way. And so you'll see the graphic on the screen, but there are 4 major emotions, basic emotions that we learn as little boys. And those 4 are happy, as we already said. We learn to express happiness. We smile, we laugh, we joke. And the second is anger, right? As boys, as men, oftentimes we're socialized to believe that anger is an acceptable emotion, right? If you're in sports, if you play football, if you box, if you play basketball, we're sent messages as young boys, as young men, as teenagers that you need to be aggressive, you need to be a dog, you need to go hit that dude, right? And so happiness and anger are 2 emotions that are generally widely accepted in our culture, right? But then there's 2 other basic emotions, and it's those 2 S's that I just talked about that are a little less socially acceptable. And that's sad and scared. As little boys, those of you who are watching who have sons, I want you to think about messages that we sometimes either intentionally or unintentionally send to our sons. How many times have you said to your son, boys don't cry, or suck it up, or don't be a punk, don't be a sissy, don't act like a girl? You see, when our boys start to express emotion, when they start to cry, oftentimes we stifle it. We tell them, no, that's not what men do. Boys don't cry. Boys are strong. Girls cry. Weak people cry. But the reality is that all human beings, if you're breathing, you get sad from time to time. And that's okay. No one's happy all the time. And also, the other S, we get scared from time to time. There's things that cause us to be anxious or to worry or to fear. Am I going to lose my job? Am I going to be able to pay the bills? Am I going to be able to pass this test? No, there's things that come up for us. And as boys, when we begin to express fear, we're often told, don't be afraid, don't be scared, don't be scary, don't be a punk, don't be weak, don't let somebody punk you, right? We hear these messages over and over to the point where we internalize them. And then fast forward, we become adults. Now we're men. Maybe now we've had a child. And when those feelings come up, when we begin to feel sadness, This is what we do. We stuff it down. We suppress it. We repress it. We bottle it up. We're not going to let the world know that we're afraid. We're not going to let the world know that we're sad. And so we're constantly stuffing and suppressing, emotions and feelings from our childhood. Maybe some of us have been victims of abuse or neglect or witnessed domestic violence like I have. And so we suppress, we bottle up our feelings and our emotions. And then what happens? There comes a point where we can't stuff it up enough. We can't bottle it up. We can't keep it all together. And then what happens? You know what happens. We explode. And guess what emotion we express when we explode? It's not sadness. It's not being afraid. It's not happy. You guessed it, it's anger. 90% of the time when we explode, when we unload, when we throw up on the people around us, it comes out in the form of anger. And who do we take it on? Take it out on? The people that are closest to us. The people that will still love us, even though we just vomited on them all of our suppressed emotions. We take it out on our wives and on our girlfriends, on our children, on those closest to us. And here's the wild thing about anger. When I lose my cool and I start to have outbursts of anger, guess what? I still feel manly. I still feel powerful, and I still feel a sense of control. Even though I'm out of control, I still feel a sense of control. Part of that is I don't want to be perceived as weak. I don't want to be perceived as a girl. I don't want to be a punk. So I'm not going to allow those around me to see that, to be vulnerable. And it's a sore spot. I remember my nephew when he was a teenager. He was going through a hard time. His father had been incarcerated for 10 years. He was getting involved in gangs. He was having a hard time in school. He was over my house. And he was so angry. I had never seen him this angry before. And I just looked at him and I said, nephew, what are you sad about? And it's like I cut through with a knife. He just went from anger to leaking tears in an instant. You see, he had so much suppressed sadness from years and years of pain that he didn't know how to express. And I challenge you, those of you who are watching today, to think about the things that make you afraid. Think about the things that make you sad. Think about the things that you still have unresolved hurt or pain about. And I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you to talk to someone, whether it's a counselor, a therapist, a pastor, a friend, a coach, a mentor. I want you to find someone that you feel comfortable sharing the things that make you uneasy. Because it's like preventative maintenance. We all know if we drive cars, if we drive that car without changing that oil long enough or getting that tune-up, that car's going to break down. Well, guess what? Our minds and our emotions and our bodies are the same way. If we're not taking time to get the support and the help and do the work, the maintenance of dealing with our issues, we're going to break down. We're not going to be able to make it. So those are some of the things that we address in our fathers group and our fatherhood peer support groups, as you heard the dads in the video talk about. We talk about expressing yourself in a healthy way. And I'm so excited that the Prince George's County Department of Family Services puts on this conference each and every year for 6 years straight, because we're blessed. You know, when I was working for the Obama administration, I had the opportunity to crisscross the country, to go every part of this country, cities and counties and towns. And I can tell you firsthand that Prince George's County has extraordinary organizations like the commission that we heard about, extraordinary leaders like the elected officials and public servants we've heard from today, extraordinary men, extraordinary fathers. We are blessed to have the resources that we have to be able to work, live, and worship in Prince George's County. So now that we've discussed some healthy ways to express your emotions, and now that we've reinforced that real men don't hurt, they heal, I want to revisit a point that I made earlier, which is that we shouldn't waste our pain. Remember, I said your greatest pain is your greatest gift. Several of you watching today have been through some painful stuff, and some of it wasn't even your fault. Some of you might have experienced incarceration or a divorce or abuse or neglect. Who knows? But I want to challenge you not to waste that pain, because guess what? There's someone coming after you that will experience some of those same things. And they need to see a living example of someone who's gone through those painful things and overcome. That's why, as someone who's never met their father, I count it a blessing to be able to work with countless fathers throughout Maryland, to be able to encourage and support and listen. A big part of what I do is just listen, just to create a venue and opportunity for men to be vulnerable, to share, because the reality is there's not a lot of places where as men, we feel comfortable opening up and sharing what we really feel. So what I want to do is I want to challenge every man on watching today. I want you to take seriously your physical health. We're losing too many fathers, too many men, too many brothers in our community, because we're not taking seriously our own health. You know, we gotta see the doctor. We gotta take seriously our own physical health. But just like we take seriously our own physical health, we gotta take seriously our mental and emotional health. And so I'm so excited about campaigns that are encouraging men to seek therapy. I honestly believe that every person should see a therapist. I think it's healthy. Just like I believe that every person who drives a car should get their oil changed, should get a tune-up. There's nothing wrong. We need to get away from the stigma that something's wrong with you just because you proactively seek out help. There you'll gain valuable tools on understanding, you know, what happened to you and how trauma affects you. And you'll gain valuable tools and strategies to be able to move forward and move past things that have been holding you back. But not only do I want to challenge you to take care of yourself, I want you to think about your responsibility to the young men and young women in your community. I want you to continue to be a shining example to them of what it means to be a father, what it means to be a husband. And don't take lightly that role and that responsibility. I remember as a young man growing up without his father, I used to ride the public transportation, the bus, from my house to the school where I went. And it was a long bus ride. And I remember watching the men on the bus, the older men. I had to be 10, 11 years old. And I would literally look at their body language. I would study them because I was trying to find out what does a man do? What does a man look like? If they would slouch down in their seat, I would slouch down in my seat. If they would cross their legs, I would cross my legs like that. I was trying to figure out what a man is. And I'm here to tell you, men watching this video, that young men around you are watching you. They're studying you. And I want to challenge you, what are they learning from you? Are they learning to be open and honest and vulnerable? Are they learning to help be a healing agent in their community? And the last thing I want to share with you before I close is I want to tell you a story. There was a young man who was incarcerated in a juvenile detention facility. And this young man was receiving a visit from one of the mentors in his community. And so the mentor went through the metal detector. He got to the cafeteria. He sat down to do this visit with this young man. And it turns out the young man was there facing some very serious charges, much like some of the young men in our community. And the young man looked up at this mentor and he said, "You know what? I'd rather be wanted for murder than not wanted at all." And when I think about that story, I think about how important it is that the young men, in particular in our community, receive positive words of affirmation, that we tell them how smart they are, how brilliant, how handsome, how strong they are. And so I want to challenge you as I close to find young men in your community, not only your own biological children, if you have them, but I want to challenge you to identify young men who might be in your church or your mosque or your synagogue, young men who might be in your neighborhood who are looking for an example. You know, we're approaching Father's Day in this June, and you may not know this, but this June, for the first time, Father's Day falls on our new national holiday on Juneteenth, June 19th. And every year on Father's Day, you know, we're inundated with commercials about fathers and cards about fathers and so forth. And there's many men who I'm interacting with on or around Father's Day who don't have their own biological children. And so I might wish them, I say, hey man, happy Father's Day. And they said, no, I'm not a father. And I want to challenge that. And I want to challenge each of you watching today. Even though you may not be a biological father, you may not have produced children of your own, you're still a father. And let me break that down. You see, a father is someone who functions in the role of provider, someone who works to provide for the young people, for the vulnerable in their communities. That's the role that a father plays. A father provides. And so whether you're biological or not, whether they're your nieces or your nephews or your students or the kids in your neighborhood or players on your team, if you're working to provide for them, provide better opportunities, you're a father. Fathers protect. If you are working to protect, whether we heard from the sheriff, if you're a member of law enforcement and you protect the young people, the vulnerable in your community, in any capacity, if you're protecting them from the dangers of peer pressure or drinking or alcohol or domestic violence, you're functioning in the role of father. Fathers nurture. If you're encouraging, if you're mentoring, if you're supporting, if you have young people that work for you as an employer and you're coaching them, you're nurturing them, you're functioning in the role of father. And lastly, fathers teach. And if there's young people in your life that whether they're your grandchildren, if you are teaching them valuable life lessons, then you're functioning in the role of father. And so I want to take a moment as I close to just answer my own question. Remember that question I told you about when I was a young man? Where are all the fathers? I now know where all the fathers are. The fathers are on this conference today. Those fathers are you. You are part of the solution. You are those men that I was looking for as a young man. You are those examples. You are that hope, that inspiration, those protectors, those providers, those nurturers, and those teachers. So on that, I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for your commitment to your community. And I want you to remember that men don't hurt, we heal.
Wow, Eugene, man. Thank you, brother, man. Look, I felt that, man. So from now on, man, I'm healing. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm sure everybody got something from what you spoke.
Thank you, brother.
All right, talk to you soon.
All right.
Mr. Schneeberg.
Haha, you got it.
My man. Next, we'll have a few remarks from the new Prince George's County Police Chief, Chief Malik Aziz.
I'd like to start off by thanking Madam County Executive, Ms. Angela Also Brooks, Sheriff High, the Prince George's County Fathers, Men and Boys Commission, and Jackie Rohn of the Department of Family Services, and all who've come together today in support of breaking the cycle of violence. Your presence here speaks to just how important it is for everyone in this collective that we strive to educate and uplift the males that make up such an important part of our community. The impact that domestic violence has on so many of our families is truly devastating. I've seen this impact in my over 3 decades of police service to the community, and some of those events remain painful for those involved. The problem itself can take many life-altering forms, and its effects are felt everywhere, from within our homes within our schools and our places of work, throughout our communities, and often involve those who are nearest to us. Therefore, the focus on nonviolence and education is imperative in our efforts to protect victims, break the cycle of abuse and violence, and ultimately begin to heal our families. Our village needs healing so that we may be strengthened. To break the cycle of violence, we must first address and acknowledge that there is in fact a disease within our community, one that unfortunately often goes undetected or overlooked, and it claims victims and forces them to suffer in silence. This acknowledgement will allow us to create a safe space for facilitating discussions with men and boys, to really ingrain in them what a healthy relationship looks like, and to offer them the necessary tools and resources needed to respond to adversity in nonviolent ways. We must create a space where the males in our community realize that resorting to violence in order to resolve conflict does not make them a man. In fact, it makes one less of a man. Learning to work through adversity, to communicate effectively, to give and receive love, that's right, love, and to uplift one another are the true measures of a man. Responding with violence is often a trait that is learned. It is shown that it is certainly an ineffective way to resolve conflict in the long term. It is a response that is passed down through generations and through our families. Fortunately for us, managing conflict and healthy communication are also learned. And it is the responsibility of all of us to foster an environment where our boys and men have positive influences that they can turn to and lean on in times of need. As they say, it takes a village. Well, we are the village, and the time to take intentional action is now. None of us will be able to do it alone, but together, we will stop the silence around domestic violence and build new legacies amongst our families and throughout our community. Your Prince George's County Police Department will stand with you, all together, to make this a reality in eliminating violence. We remain committed partners with all departments, agencies, and not-for-profit entities that seek a better and safer Prince George's County. Let's stop the silence around domestic violence. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chief, and welcome to Prince George's County. Washington Commanders. Just had to say that. So look, I know next we have coming up again a poetry selection from Mr. Shamar Cook. I think at this point, I'm going to need this guy's autograph.
I remember it being 10th grade when I went through my first and only experience with domestic abuse, and no, I wasn't the abuser. I've been asked that a million times, and funny enough, I realized something. I never once got angry that another person assumed I abused a woman. I found that peculiar until hundreds of poems later, I witnessed another man discussing the same topic as I, and it dawned on me what caused our breaking and forced our sunset. Apologies if you don't understand the reference. What I meant was it became clear as midday sun on an open field would turn our hearts to night. It was because I didn't believe it happened. I couldn't fathom the fact that she hurt me, didn't want to believe those were scratches on my neck. Those weren't scars across my cheek. They couldn't have been bruises on my arm. She didn't really slap me in front of my friends. At least she couldn't have. It's been 4 years since it happened, and I've been ashamed to even speak up about it now, but in hopes another man can let go of this burden in his heart, I'll free my soul till you know that you're not alone. It takes more than grit to be a soldier, like it takes more than lies to be a man. Can't hide the truth about everything, especially the things you can't control. Your feelings don't deserve to be held hostage all because that's the society we live in. Don't you know it's illegal to conceal and carry without a license? So a quick draw can't solve this situation, because no matter how fast you pull, the only thing you'll be aiming at is your own reflection. There's only so many battles that can be fought with bare hands, that your brute strength ain't your true strength, and it'll only damage your health. Which is how in 20 years of age, found the best way to defeat your demons. Rule number 1. The person you should be fighting isn't yourself. Thank you.
And once again, Shamar Cook, you did it, brother. Man, thank you so much, so much. We man, them words, man. I meant it. We're gonna need your autograph. Next, we'll hear from the Commission of Father, Men, and Boys. Again, this is from the Secretary, my guy, Mr. Bruce D. Edwards, Esquire. He's going to talk about how we can get involved and lift and celebrate the fathers in Prince George's County by nominating the men from our community for Prince George's County's Fatherhood Honors Awards and the nomination process.
Thank you so much, BJ. And now we look forward to highlight our Prince George's County Fatherhood Honors Awards on behalf of the Commission on Fathers, Men, and Boys. Prince George's County Commission on Fathers, Men, and Boys presents their annual Fatherhood Honors Award. Father's Day is a day of honoring fatherhood and fraternal bonds, as well as the influence of fathers in our community. There are countless examples of men who have gone above and beyond the call of duty to support, assist, as well as faithfully serve their family, others, and their community, especially during these extremely challenging times. The Prince George's County Commission on Fathers, Men, and Boys, CFM, announces our annual Fatherhood Honors Award that is designed to recognize, celebrate, and honor men who have exemplified the principles of excellence in fatherhood through their character, service, and positive impact upon the lives of individuals, organizations, or their community consistently in the past years. You are cordially invited and encouraged to nominate individual men who deserve recognition as a CFMB Fatherhood Honors Awardee. The nominee can be any man over the age of 21 who is a father or father figure that meets the criteria below. You can submit as many nominations as you would like. Please use a new form for each nomination. Candidates must either live in, work, or serve in Prince George's County, Maryland. Using 150 words or less, please explain why you think this person should be recognized for the CFMB Fatherhood Honors Award in one or more of the following categories. Number 1, character as a man, father, or father figure. That is, character may include, but is not limited to attributes such as honesty and integrity, hard work, faith or spirituality, mentoring, generosity, courage, strength, vision, caring, responsiveness, ambitious, commitment, dedication, responsible, morality, respectful, etc. Number 2, service to the community. Describe how the nominee has served the community, made positive contributions. Number 3, positive impact. Describe in detail the positive impact that the nominee has had on the lives of others, his community, his organization, etc., through his actions, attitude, or influence. And fourthly, submit a photo of the nominee. And lastly, submit supporting documentations, other awards, certificates, letters, etc. This particular requirement is optional. Applications are due by Friday, April 15th, 2022. Nominees will be recognized at the June 12, 2022 Father's Day Pledge event. You may retrieve and submit application packets on the Department of Family Services website at familyservices.nypgc.us/CFMB. You may also submit applications or questions at pgcommissiononfathersmenandboys@gmail.com. Thank you so much. We look forward to receiving your nominations. Back to you, BJ.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards, and the entire Prince George's County Commission on Fathers, Men, and Boys. Next, we have Mr. Elliot Wade from the Prince George's County Department of Family Services, Domestic Violence, and Human Trafficking Division. Mr. Wade will be telling us about the department's Men's Challenge, Living Together Without Violence initiative, and recognizing this year's Men's Challenge presenters. What's going on, Mr. Wade?
Thank you, BJ, for that introduction, and good morning, everyone. My name is Elio Wade, and I'm the program coordinator here at the Department of Family Services, Domestic Violence and Human Trafficking Division. The Men's Challenge Initiative is a series of groups meetings that will occur once or twice a month where men gather and engage in discussion. The meetings are designed to influence healthy relationships. Some of the topics that have been discussed include healthy relationships, respect, emotional abuse, fatherhood, parenting, mental health, and social injustice, just to name a few. And now here's our awardees.
Super congratulations to all of the awardees. I'm excited to see them because I know most of them and I know that they're doing the work. So Mr. Wade, great job. We thank you so much. And right now, man, I'm excited. This is the lady who makes all of these things come together. So clap it up, give pounds, give all the comments thumbs up for a wonderful lady, Miss Jackie Rome. She will introduce the save the date for the 2022 Father's Day Pledge Initiative. Hey, Jackie.
Thanks, BJ. Crazy. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Father's Day Pledge Initiative. The Department of Family Services is excited to announce that it'll be partnering again this year with the Prince George's County Office of the Sheriff and the Commission on Fathers, Men, and Boys to host the Father's Day Pledge Initiative on June the 14th. We're hoping to host this event in person, so save the date. So, what is the Father's Day Pledge Initiative, you ask? Well, in Prince George's County, we want to lead healthy relationships and mitigate any abuse, including domestic violence. So we're inviting men, businesses, civic, faith, and community leaders, public officials, and Prince George's County residents to take the pledge and commit to doing something positive to nurture and impact their relationship. Your pledge doesn't have to be challenging. It just has to yield a healthier relationship. Pledge to do homework one night a week with your children. Pick up dinner or treat your mate to dinner with friends once a month. Be creative, intentional, and committed to your pledge. We're hoping to get 1,000 signatures this year. Pledge boards are available for pickup. On June 14th, we will be displaying the signed pledge boards honoring fathers and celebrating fatherhood in Prince George's County. Through your compassion and your collective actions, will bring synergy to our family and our community. Contact the Department of Family Services to coordinate picking up your pledge board and watch for details for the Father's Day Pledge Initiative on June the 14th. Thank you so much, BJ. We're looking forward to individuals coming by and picking up their pledge boards and getting signatures so that we can celebrate fathers right before Father's Day on the 14th of June.
I love it. I love it, Jackie. I'm going to start by being the first to get that board and get the pledge board up here in my community with the organizations that I'm a part of. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm excited. This is where the rubber meets the road. We're at the end of the 2022 Momentum Conference. Each year, a big part of Momentum is the call to action. This year's call to action is simple. Send the elevator back down. I'm sure each of you have been on the elevator, right? Well, picture this. You just got on the elevator and you hit the button for your floor. Let's just say floor 23. So you hit floor 23. And as you hit the button, you see the elevator, your friend is coming and the door is closing. It begins to take you up to your floor. Now you're going up fast. You're moving up fast, floor by floor. You get to your floor, floor number 23. Now you're there, and just to make it easier for the next person coming up, what should you do? It's for your friend. You push the button to go back down to the lobby. That's the same thing we're going to do right here with Momentum Conference. We're going to take all of the information from these great speakers, all this good information that we have, and we're going to pass it on. It does you no justice to keep it to yourself. Send the elevator back down. And remember, we're going to invite somebody out for next year, for 2023 Momentum Conference. So in closing, I want to thank everyone who was a part of the day. I want to make sure that we give all our shout outs to all the speakers, everyone engaged, everyone that invited somebody, and special shout out to the Department of Family Services for putting this on each and every year. So keep yourself safe for the rest of 2022. And if nothing else, send the elevator back down.